Look, we all face challenges. Life has a way of testing our limits, right? But what if the real key to resilience isn't about adding more good habits, but about getting rid of the bad ones, the ones that hold us back? Okay, let's dive into this guide on how to reclaim your power by learning what mentally strong people choose not to do. So where does all this come from? Well, it's grounded in the deeply personal and painful experience of its author, a therapist named Amy Morin. Her entire journey into understanding mental strength, it all began with a sudden, absolutely devastating loss. And then, as if that wasn't enough, just 3 years later, on the exact anniversary of her mother's passing, her husband also died. Just gone. This unimaginable level of loss became the fire in which her work was forged.
An experience like that forces you to ask a really crucial question, one that honestly applies to every single one of us. It's not if we'll face hardship, it's how we respond when we do. So what is it? What's the thing that separates people who crumble from those who find a way to keep going, and maybe even grow stronger?
So out of these questions, a really clear framework started to emerge. First things first, let's get on the same page and define what mental strength actually is. Okay, so here's the key. Mental strength isn't about being born tough or acting fearless. It's not a trait. It's a skill. It's a discipline. It's all about the conscious habits you build that let you control the only things you ever really can: your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Now, what I love about this is how it just shatters all the common myths. Real strength isn't about bottling up your emotions or putting on a brave face and pretending you don't feel pain. No, it's the opposite. It's about being aware of what you're feeling and then consciously choosing how to act anyway. It's all about resilience, not suppression. All right, let's get into it. The first big habit mentally strong people avoid: they absolutely do not waste time feeling sorry for themselves. It is a trap that will stop you dead in your tracks. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Self-pity, it feels so validating in the moment. It gives you this weird sense of comfort. But it's an addiction. And like any addiction, it keeps you focused on the problem instead of the solution, and it cuts you off from your own power to make a change. If you want a real-world example, just think about Marla Runyon. She could have focused on what she'd lost, on how unfair her situation was, but she didn't. She completely reframed it. She saw her blindness not as some barrier, but as the very thing that forged her incredible will. It became her superpower. So here's how you actually make the shift. It's about trading one for the other. So instead of throwing a pity party, you choose gratitude. Instead of just magnifying how bad things are, you take one small action. This is how you trade that feeling of helplessness for a feeling of agency, one thought at a time. Okay, number 2 on our list of things to stop doing. Mentally strong people do not give away their power. This is all about taking back control. Just pause and think about this for a second. Every time you let a coworker's bad mood ruin your entire day, or you say yes to something you just don't have the bandwidth for, you're literally handing over a piece of your personal power. You're letting the outside world dictate your inside world. For an example of this that is just almost beyond belief, you have to hear about Officer Stephen McDonald. He was the victim of a horrific act of violence that completely changed his life forever. And you know what? The world expected him to be filled with rage and a desire for revenge. But he understood something so profound. He realized that holding on to all that anger would just give his attacker continued power over him, basically poisoning his spirit long after the physical attack was over. So he forgave him. Not for the attacker, but for himself. It was the ultimate act of taking his power back. So how do we do this in our own lives? Well, here's the game plan. It starts with setting real boundaries, emotionally and physically. It means taking responsibility for your choices, and it means understanding that forgiveness is a tool for your freedom. And that brings us to our third and final lesson. Now, this is not about being reckless, okay? It's about being strategic and being brave. You know that feeling, right? Staying in your comfort zone feels so safe. But here's the thing, nothing ever grows there. The truth is, avoiding all risk is actually a huge risk in itself. It's the risk of just stagnating, of missing out on your own potential. The path to an amazing life is paved with calculated risks. Okay. This story is fantastic. Albert Ellis, who would go on to become a hugely influential psychologist, he practiced what he preached. He was terrified of rejection, so what did he do? He went out and systematically faced it. And the big lesson wasn't about getting a date,
It was realizing that rejection wouldn't kill him. He literally built his own resilience by proving to himself he could handle the risk.
So how can you do this? It's actually a pretty simple, logical process. Step 1, just name the fear. Call it what it is. Step 2, balance your emotion with some logic. What's the actual objective risk here? And finally, step 3, take purposeful action. Move forward knowing you've made a smart, calculated choice.
All right, so we've walked through these 3 huge principles. Let's kind of bring it all home and focus on what this means for you right now.
Look, if there's only one thing you remember from this, please let it be this. We're all so busy trying to do more, to add more to our lives. But so often, real strength comes from subtraction. It's about letting go of the self-pity, giving up the need to let other people control you, and releasing the fear that's holding you back.
And please, remember, this is not some finish line you cross one day and you're done. It's a daily practice. It's about making small, consistent choices that build that resilience muscle over time. It's just about trying to be a little bit better, a little bit stronger today than you were yesterday. So, I'll leave you with a direct question. Based on everything we just talked about, what is one thing, just one habit you have that you can consciously choose to stop doing, starting right now, to take your power back?